back to another video brought to you by your one and only literary pharaoh. Welcome guys to another upload, another video. How you guys doing this morning on a Friday? Friday has a psychological power, doesn't it? Doesn't the day have a certain aura? The aura is so strong that it actually manipulates our mindsets. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you know it's Friday, there's a certain energy level that you have because you know it's leading into the weekend. But I find that type of thinking to be a little bit, a lot jaded actually. If you have that kind of mindset, it just borders on moronicism. It's moronic to have that type of mindset where you allow a specific day to channel your energy or to manipulate your energy or to manipulate your frequency. If you woke up on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and you treated every day as if it was Friday, you would be amazed at the production and the type of temperament that you would have. But then some of you guys would say, well, it's hard to do that because when it's Monday, I know that it's really just Monday. It's not really Friday. But what this tells me is that a lot of people just hate their damn jobs. And you should hate your job because working is not a natural human proclivity. We're not, even though we were built to be slaves and to work, because we have the divine spark of the Anunnaki beings that created us. That divine spark entails intellect, high spiritual ascension. It entails being nuanced. In other words, you can always find out a solution to a problem without you immersing yourself in the process of the solution. In other words, if there's work that needs to be done, divine gods or the divine beings that created us, no, people call them gods, they're actually not gods. They are gods in the sense of they formulated a reality and formulated us with the genetic disposition to want to worship them as gods. But as I made a video yesterday, I think a couple of days ago, the creator and these so-called gods are two totally different things. There's no such thing as creators. There's only one creator of the entire universe. And then beneath the creator of the universe, you have other subcomponents, a sub-level of other creations, all caused by the creator of the universe that try to emulate or replicate the attributes of the creator of the universe by using their divine intellect and knowledge to produce things that would make their existence a little bit more easier. Sort of what we're doing today in our modern culture. We have people that are using AI to make their lives a little bit easier. That dynamic in and of itself is a proof that we do share those similar attributes to those divine Anunnaki beings. Okay, so when you hate to work, it's not that you're lazy. What I do call lazy is when you don't do what you have to do in order to make your situation better. We understand going to work is not something we love, which is why Friday tends to give off a certain energy level to most people because it's a day that leads to the weekend. However, the weekend is so short, so we sell ourselves short because we have a very, very destructive mentality. Most of the days out of the week, we're doing something that we hate, but yet we're so happy when we get a percent back of all the time that we spent. So you can spend 99.9% of your time doing something that you hate, but that 0.1% that you have of freedom we treat it as if it's like the second coming of something monumental or something that's so revolutionary. It's not. It's not. We have it backwards, folks. That's why our frustration levels continue to increase, because every time the weekend passes, especially when it comes to Sunday, we start to look around like, oh man, we gotta go back to work. And this is repeated. It's a cycle that's repeated over and over and over again. But as the cycle is repeated over and over again, I think my recording stopped. I don't know why. But when it's layered, it increases the intensity and the severity of the type of psychosis that we're in. So our energy levels over time become sapped. And the joy we once had as youthful people, as children, running around, playing, happy, joyful, we lose it because as time passes, we become more cynical. We become more pessimistic. And it's not because we're older. It's not just our age that causes it. It's our mindset in conjunction with our age. Because we have a backwards mentality. And I say this to people all the time. Try doing something different that goes against the grain. Start treating Monday through Friday as if every day is Friday. Treat every day as if it's a weekend. I know it's hard because you hate your job. And I'm not going to say I hate my job. I'm not going to say I love it either. I have had jobs where I hated it. All right? But however, maybe because I'm older now, that I've worked so long, that I've conditioned my mind to come to the point where I don't hate my job. But I'm not going to sit here and say I love it, because if you ask me, is there something else that you would rather do than be driving to work in the morning? I would tell you yes. I would rather I would rather be at home in the comfort of my own home, relaxing. That's what I would rather do. But there are people out there that don't like their jobs. They hate their jobs, and I get it. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a lazy person. You're not supposed to love your job, because we were never meant to be just workers. We were meant to do things that were going to benefit us, but not doing things that benefits a corporation and benefits the capitalists and benefits the money printers and benefits the rulers of this world, while getting a token. And the token is the incentive to pay our bills and to put clothes on our backs and to put fuel in our vehicles just to come back to the same job that we hate. So it's a cycle. And we understand as divine beings, we can't pinpoint it. We can't really put a target on it or lay down any specifications to say this is it. But somewhere deep down in the recesses of our souls, we understand that there's something missing. There's a lack of purpose in that. It's just a repetitive cycle that leads to nowhere. It's an exercise in futility. You're not accomplishing anything. All you're doing is living week to week or check to check or month to month, just in survival mode. What do I mean by you're in survival mode? I mean you're in survival mode in the fact that you have to pay your bills, because if you don't pay your bills, the fear or the anxiety of you losing your home and you being out on the quote-unquote streets, or not having enough food to eat, or having the comforts that you are used to having, the thought of losing that keeps us going. So the system has created these comforts around us. They produce merchandise to create a comfortable environment as we endeavor in this vain journey of being industrial slaves. We are industrial slaves. And don't be upset that you hate your job, but I think that's why Friday has that energy collectively. Now, I'm not saying everybody is off on the weekends, but the majority of people have plans for the weekend. But I've always looked at the word weekend. It's synonymous, and it sounds like weakened. Like when you're weakened, like when you're weak and you don't have energy. The weekend, you're weakened. You're weakened. Our mentality weakens us. Now, you may think, oh, but I'm hype. It's Friday, I'm getting paid, or it's the weekend, I have plans. Short term, it's great. Long term, it's not great, because it puts you back in sadness. It puts you back in a low vibrational state when the work week begins, because your hopes were so high, but whatever you embarked on or whatever you got into is so short-lived that you feel like you didn't get everything out that you wanted to get out, or whatever you needed, you didn't get it. Whatever fix that you thought you were going to get during the weakened state that you were in, or the weekend that you were in, because you're in a weakened state. You're in a weakened state because your mindset from Monday through Friday, or Monday through Thursday, I should say, going into the weekend is a setup to be in a weakened mind state. But it's a psychological inversion, because it has you thinking that you're hyped up. But in actuality, the hype that you have externally due to the external stimuli is it's a manipulative tactic to actually weaken your vibrational state. That's why everyone is depressed or sad going into the work week, but then you're so excited during the weekend. It's not supposed to be that way. You should just be excited for life, period. And even if you hate your job, try your hardest to still find joy in what you hate. Meaning that I'm not saying have joy in what you hate, but the little moments at your job that you can impact people. Find it. I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. Because if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's hard. Find purpose in things that lack purpose. Create purpose. Create energy. Be the light in a dark room. Be the positive energy in the midst of negative energy. Be the force that everybody is attracted to. Just do your best to make it through those tough days, and train your mind to just look at life as a weekend. Look at life as something that should be celebrated. Look at life celebratorily in a way that I can celebrate any day that I want. I told my wife that the other day. I said, you know what? I'm not going to just wait for the weekend to want to do this. I'm going to go do this on Monday. I'll do this on Tuesday. Now, of course, we have time constraints, because if you go to work, most of your day is gone, and by the time you get off work, you really don't have that much time to do what you want to do. But still, just have that mindset like it's the weekend. And don't think of your job as, it's my job. Just think of the people that you're going to meet at the workplace. Who can I impact? What kind of small group can I create at work where we can talk and have common minds, get together and just hash things out? That's also therapeutic. On your break, you can, find a way. I know you guys already do that, but it's not going to take away the hate. It's not going to make you love your job, but at least it'll help you cope with your job. It'll help you endure it. Okay, it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and lie. If I sat here and say, if you hate your job, these are the 10 steps to love your job, I would be lying to you. You can't love something that your genetic disposition you weren't created to love to work. Now, you were created to work for things that benefit you directly. But the capitalistic system, the money system that we have in a free market economy that's far from a resource-based economy, because there's enough resources around the planet where no one should work. There's enough technology in the world where no one should work. Technology can do everything. Artificial intelligence can do everything. We have artificial intelligence that's far much more vast than what we have today. They're just giving us the crumbs of AI. Anything that they introduce as new today is not really new. It's probably several decades old. They're just bringing it out now. They have other things out that are far more advanced than what we have now. But in order to control the cattle and control society and control the masses, you have to have a program. You have to have a certain time frame when you let these things out incrementally. You can't just let the cat out the bag, and then if you do that, human beings become too powerful. So AI is something that's being done deliberately, of course, but what they're introducing to society as a whole is something that's done intentionally. They're not going to just let everything out and say this is what it is. So just understand that it's hard. And just be excited for life. Try to. Don't make your life all about the weekend. Because think about it. Do the math. I mean, I'm not that great at math. There's supposed to be 7 days out of the week. So you're trying to tell me that 5 days, Monday through Friday, you're miserable, and then Saturday and well, see, you only really have 1 day to be happy, because Sunday you have to get ready to go back to work for Monday. That's those who work Monday through Friday that are off on weekends. Now let's talk about the people who have schedules that are really not that consistent, where sometimes they work weekends, sometimes they don't. But those people share the same sentiments. They share the same idea and ideology. They still have certain weekends where they mark on their calendar for the month and say, this is the weekend that I'm off. I'm going to plan to do something great this weekend. Okay, that's great that you do that. So is your life all about that? Is your life predicated on just having that break from work, and that's what you live for? Then if you live that way, you've totally missed the point. Make the best out of every day, no matter what situation that you're in. Because I'm telling you guys, most of your time, there's a stat that's out. You don't have to believe me, you can look it up yourself. The average American, all right, spends 3/4 of their time at work. 3/4 equates to 75%. So that means that out of 100%, 75% of our time is spent at work. So what does that leave you? It leaves you with the other 25% of your time. But that time is compromised. It's compromised because just because you get off work, it doesn't mean that you all of a sudden are on a vacation or that you are on some sort of resort. If you have children, you have to take care of them. You have a house to clean. You have errands to run. You have chores. You have things that you have to do. Being off from work doesn't mean work stops. You see, I think that's the frustration in life and why a lot of people hate their jobs, because it takes you away from taking care of the things that you really want to take care of. Because you're going to a corporation, you're going to a business to make money for them, to make profit for them, to make money for the CEOs, the execs, all right? They're making all the money. The money printers are making all the money. And even going deeper than that, it just puts everybody into a industrialized slavery system where everyone's just working. It's not even about the money to the money printers, because they're just using money to control. They don't need money. Money is just a tool. They've put us in a state where we need the money. That's called master trickery. Those are masterminds. And those masterminds, I did a video about this, they're not all human. Because whoever devised this system is not fully human. Because a human, think about this. A human, because we're all humane, we want the best for each other. We're all really one. We all really are just one. We're just living separate experiences. So therefore, we have different states of consciousness, but however, we're still just one. I get cut, I bleed. You get cut, you bleed. We want the best for one another, but somehow, some way, greed got inserted into this social strata. But the greed was anthropogenically induced. What do I mean by anthropogenically induced? I mean that it was done by the hand or by the hands of beings, not human beings, but entities that created a psychological environment or a psychological ecosystem, all right, that has everything based on materials and a perceived sense of scarcity of these materials. So therefore, everyone has to go work for these things that are scarce because we don't have them. So therefore, greed is inserted when you have an ecosystem that's based on materials and cargo. I don't think human beings are naturally greedy. I just think that when you believe that there's not enough resources, you're going to try to get all you can for yourself. That's just a self-preservative, that's an act of self-preservation. Then they give you the Bible talk about, oh, just have faith that God will supply your needs. There's no such thing. You got to get your ass up and go to work and supply your own damn needs. There's nothing magical happening here. If you work a blue collar job, you have to put your back and elbow into it. You got to put your physicalness into it. Okay? If you work a job where you're mostly having to think, the mental aspect of a job can drain you as well. It could be draining to be exhausted mentally when you have to think so much. So life is much more than living for the weekend when you're weakened. Because the system catches you in a weakened state, but however, giving you a false sense of hope about a weekend that's supposed to be so fun, but it never lives up to what you expected. As a matter of fact, your mindset that you have seems to be the most exciting part. The anticipation of the weekend seems to be the most exciting part about life. The experience of the weekend never really matches up with what you thought. Leave a comment if I'm wrong about that. Think about that. Most of the times, the anticipation of something great seems to have the more tantalizing effect upon our electrified being. Like, we tend to be excited about that internally and externally when we think about an outcome of something, but when we're actually going through it, it never really matches. You know why? Because it's never supposed to be that way. We're not supposed to be imbalanced. Every day is supposed to be a day that you're looking forward to. I understand. I know. You're gonna say literary fair, but how can I look forward to my day when I hate my job? I understand. That's why I'm telling you, gotta find something in your day, in your everyday, that makes you a better you. That's why I work out so hard. That's why I try to eat right, because I can't let my job take me away from me. I can't let my job dictate my life in terms of making me so stressful where I become an emotional, when I become an emotional eater or an emotional person all the time responding emotionally. Because when we put ourselves in a state of always being emotional, we're no longer logical. And I'm not saying emotions are bad. Energy emotion is always good, but you have to channel that energy emotion, which is what emotion is. Emotion, energy in motion. The reason why emotions could be dangerous, because when it's not guided or controlled, it can go anywhere. Because it's predicated on feel. It's not predicated on truth or logic. It's predicated on how you feel. And people go off of that, and then they end up acting impulsively, not using the frontal parts of their brain, relying on the amygdala, the reptilian brain, so you become a person that's always in a perpetual state of flight or fight. We have to do better than that. And I know it's tough, but you have to find a way to take care of yourself so you can be more vibrant. You could be, your vitals are operating at an optimal capacity. Get in the sun. I know these things sound boring to you because we're so, the system has indoctrinated us to think that we need to go to a theme park, which is so stupid. I've never understood that. Staying in line for hours just to get on a ride for 1 second. And then you go to a place thinking that you're going to spend all day there. And even if you do spend all day there, you'll probably get on a handful of rides because the lines that you have to wait in are just hectic. That, to me, induces more stress. The best way to find peace is within yourself. See, we've been lied to and told that everything that we need is outside of us. Go get it. Everything we need is already here. It's in you. People say, I want to go to heaven. Heaven is already here. It's in the temple. It's between the temple. Heaven resides in the temple. Heaven is a mindset. It is. It's a mindset. How you think matters. That's why I'm in heaven every day. Doesn't mean that see, when I say I'm in heaven every day, you guys have this perception of if you're in heaven that you're just going to be always happy and everything's going your way. No. It's not that. Being in heaven is taking all things and never letting anything take you off equilibrium. Meaning that you're never too high and you're never too low. There are moments where you may get a little high, get a little low, but for the most part, you're staying even keel. It flutters because we're humans. My stoicism, I'm not a statue. I'm not, that's not realistic. Do I get upset? Of course. I have kids. So I have to discipline them sometimes. I get upset when I have to warn them about don't do this, don't do that. That's normal. That's not me being too high. When I say too high or too low, when you get to that high point, you have to ask yourself the duration of that. Is that how I am for the most part of the day? That's how people who are bipolar are. They have extreme highs and extreme lows. But no one, ask anybody about me. How is Literary Pharaoh? He's just a chill guy. Yeah, I'm chill. I can never let external circumstances dictate my divinity. I'm a god. I was created by so-called gods, but they put their divine spark in me. And even if you do the research, there's something in us, but of course, our genetics have been manipulated so much that we can't even tap into it. But some people are tapping into it. They put something in us that rivals our creators. Read the story of Enlil and Enki in the Sumerian tablets. It says it. The reason why Enlil, the God of the Bible, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you guys get on your knees to worship, that being that's not really a creator, he was mad at his brother. His brother is the one that's been deceptively given the title of being the snake or the serpent in the garden. The brother was not evil. The brother was just trying to tell Adam and Eve who they were. Like, you were cosmic kin. Do you know that? You guys aren't meant to just be slaves, to just work and till the garden. You guys are much more. Nick and Zeta, aka Thoth, or Hermes, Kukulkan, he has all sorts of names. Thoth, the Atlantean, he's the nephew of Enki, because Enki and Enlil are brothers. Nick and Zeta was very good with the sciences, with genetics. He was basically a geneticist. And they tinkered with our DNA so much, they put all sorts of stuff in us. Good things. That if we tapped into it, we would rival that of our creators. What does rival mean? We'll oversee them. I know it's hard for you guys to believe because you're like, well, Dan, they're so smart. They did this. They're able to do this. Yeah, because they have technology. But in terms of spiritual ascension and spiritual connection, we're better than them. In terms of strength, we're better than them. In terms of being humane, we're better than them. But we just don't see it because we don't have the capacity to tap into it. The earth has been electromagnetified, so that also puts a hamper on our spiritual capacity. What do I mean by electromagnetified? It means that all these power lines and cell phones and radio waves and all that stuff hinders us. That's why a lot of people who went to go visit the pyramids, they feel a certain power in there because however they built those pyramids, it's devoid of all the pollutants and contaminants that hinders our capacity to reach a higher spiritual ascension. We're being electromagnetified. We're being electrified. You know, when people used to be put in people would say someone's going to be sentenced to death and they put them in the electric chair and the person just like, yeah, that's how we are. We're being just, it's synonymous to us being put in an electric chair. But not that severe, but it is that severe because we cannot ascend spiritually, which is why we're always sad, which is why we're looking forward to things like the weekend to lift us up. Try to be lifted up every day. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. What do I mean by that? It's like muscles. If you don't use a certain muscle, you're going to lose it. If you don't aspire or inspire yourself or have ambition to make a commitment with full-fledged intentionality to try to make every day feel like it's a weekend, then you're always going to be miserable. You're always going to be miserable. You're always going to be miserable. So, just try. I know it's not easy, but try. All right? But don't make your life all about, oh, just the weekend. Just the weekend. I'm living for the weekend. Life is much more than a weekend. Life is about you, your experiences, how you interact with people, the connections you make. Find joy in nature. Exercise. Do things for yourself. Don't be so uptight. That causes cancer. The toxicity of anxiety and being highly stressed is the number one killer. The number one killer isn't guns and bombs, folks, it's stress. Stress will decrease your lifespan. I'm not saying that if you're never stressed, you're going to live to be 500 years old. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that people who are continually stressed are literally taking off years from their life. They are. You don't live long when you're stressed. Cancer cells build up because you're accumulating these toxins inside your biochemistry. And when you are accumulating these toxins, they metastasize, coupled with the air pollution, coupled with the toxic foods that are riddled with carcinogens as well. So it's a perfect match made in hell. You're stressed, you're also eating bad foods, combined with the polluted air, you have no chance. Yeah, you'll live. I'm not saying you're going to die the minute you're stressed, but you're taking years off your life. While you can live to be 90, 95 years old, you may only live to be 70 or 65, and you're out of here. You're out of here. So just try. And I tell people, I say, they'll tell me, man, I don't know how you wake up so early to do what you do before work. Well, I have to. That's the only way that I can fight back. That's the only way I can counter the system. See, you have to counter the system. If you work a particular schedule, the sun is all in my face. If you work a particular schedule that doesn't give you time for yourself, that's bad. But I don't believe that anybody works a schedule that doesn't give you time for yourself. You say, but it's hard. When I get off of work, I try to do whatever you need to do before you go to work. What's more important, your job or your health? Your job or your health? Answer the question, what's more important, your job or your health? Now, if you say your job is more important, then this conversation is not for you. But if you think your health is more important, then that means you need to put your health first. How do you put your health first? You're going to put your health first by waking up early and taking care of yourself first. By going to the gym early in the morning, stretching, exercising, going for a walk. Do whatever you need to do before you clock in at your job. Your job is secondary. Your job is just a way to make a living in order to pay your bills, put clothes on your back, and fuel your car to get to work the next day. Your life is not your job. Your life is to take care of your health. That's your actual real job. Being an industrial slave, working for UPS or working for a grocery store or working for a retail or being a manager for this, that's your industrial slave job. That's not your purpose. You understand that, right? Your purpose is to take care of self. So as the system tries to overwhelm you, the beast system, that's what the beast system is. The mark of the beast is industrial slavery. It's not a barcode. It's not a code that you get on your forehead. The beast system is the industrialized slaves that all go to work. Like I'm on the road and everybody is trying to go to work. Like I wish I could show you the traffic. It's you can almost faint just looking at it. It's so much. Why? You think everybody wants to be in this traffic? No. We're in traffic because we're going to our slave job. That's not your purpose. So if your purpose and priority lies in your health, which is self, then you need to be deliberate in mapping out a schedule that allows you to take care of yourself first before you take care of somebody else. Because when you go to work, you're not taking care of yourself. In a way, indirectly you are, because you need money to pay your bills and buy food, but you're really taking care of somebody else's problem. You're feeding the beast. The beast is like an animal personified. I'm taking something in the abstract and I'm personifying it, giving it, infusing it with some sort of life. The industrial system is like a monster that eats. When we all go to work, we are feeding the beast. The beast system operates off of capital and this capitalistic society and the monetary system and the free market economy. It operates underneath that umbrella. So every time you work and buy things and pay taxes, you're feeding the beast. It's eating. So if you're always working, never taking care of yourself, you're feeding something else and you're not feeding yourself. I'm not talking about food. I'm talking about taking care of yourself. It's a metaphor that I'm trying to use here to infuse my point inside your brain so you can understand what I'm talking about. When you give yourself off, when you give your energy to an enterprise or to an organization, you are essentially feeding that system. That's what keeps the system going. Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say everybody decided today, or for a week, or for a month, everyone says, man, we're going to create our own lockdown. COVID came up with their own lockdown, a pandemic, that hoax of a thing that they did. Everybody just don't go to work. Teachers, nurses, everybody stay home. No one does anything. The beast will start to cry. It'll go crazy. What is the beast again? If you're coming in late and if you're sitting in the back of the class and you're not paying attention, the beast is the industrialized system. It's the military industrial complex, the industrialized system that has people working as industrial slaves, as wage slaves, industrial slaves. If everybody decides not to go to work, the monster is dead. You can only kill a monster by not feeding it. A monster can destroy people, and it does. It destroys people every day. It destroys families. What do I mean by that? It pulls people away from their families. Most affairs occur on the job. Okay, if I'm lying, put the comment down and say that I'm lying. But I'm not lying, so you can't write that. Most affairs, most married men or married women are having affairs at work. Not because they don't love their husbands or love their wives, because you're spending 3/4 of your time at work. You're spending, not 50-50. You're spending the majority of your time at work, 3/4 of the average American's time. That's just the average. There's some that spend more time at work. People who work overtime, who want to work overnight to have a bigger paycheck. People who stay late at work. You end up building relationships and bonding with people that you see more. If you're seeing another man more than your husband, it's likely that you may end up having an affair. I'm not saying it's automatic. Some people have a stronger moral code. But if you're having problems at home, it makes it very easy to bond with somebody that does what you do because you guys see eye to eye. You guys are doing the same job. So there's already commonality there. You guys already have one thing in common. You guys both work together. You guys both have you guys both share the same stresses. You guys both have the same concerns for the same job or the same task at hand. So that builds a connection there. It's a relationship that's built there organically. So affairs happens at work. The beast destroys families. The beast causes accidents on the road. Do you know how sometimes when I'm on the road, how fast some people are driving to get to work? Just cutting through traffic, just maneuvering through traffic. And I'm like, golly, you can't be late. Because if you're late, you may get fired. You may get written up. No one wants to get written up because when your evaluation comes, they start bringing out these things that you didn't do right. That's slavery. We control you. You work for the dollar. You're owned by the government. So the government, the industrialized system, the beast, kills people, destroys family, destroys marriages, pulls mothers away from their children. It has people putting their kids in daycare. They should be home with their parents the first 2 years of existence. They should be on their mother's breast, feeling the warmth of their mother, connecting and bonding with the mother, not connecting and bonding to compulsory education. Compulsory meaning that it's mandatory and it's filled with indoctrination. That's what compulsory education means. It's compulsory because it's a program. And it starts young. It starts to teach you about these white faces who were presidents. You start seeing these images as a young child. And especially if you're melanated, you start to look at the white race as if they are superior. They're not. No one's superior. You're only inferior when you have an inferior mindset and you're riddled with ignorance and you've been manipulated, or you've allowed yourself to be manipulated, and you are superior when you've overcome those things. When you've overcome those obstacles, you are superior. It's not about the race, it's about your mentality that makes you either inferior or superior. It's not your race, it's the mental state. We're so predicated on the external, looking at skin color and physical attributes and looking at the phenotype of a particular person. It's not about that in and of itself, because that's all we see. It's what's in here. It's what's in here. It's what's in the mind. It's what's in the soul. So if everybody decided not to go to work and said, man, fuck it, I'm not going to work, forget it. Everybody though, not 10% of people, I'm talking about 100% of people said, I'm not going to work. That day, the system collapses. They could the money printers could try to print more money into it, but what good is money when no one's working? Think about it. If there's no one there to teach the kids, what do the kids do? They stay home. Everything's dead. Everything stops. The industrialized machine stops. It becomes inoperable. You've killed the beast, or you've halted it. If you're consistent with not going to work for an entire month, I mean everybody, 100% of Americans, just say, we're not going. The industrialized system, aka the beast, will bow its knee to us. Then the dynamic becomes flipped and reversed. We become the gods of the planet. It won't be about a few ruling the many. It'll be the many taking what's theirs. That's the resources of this planet. It doesn't make sense for a handful of people to own all the resources, and the responsibility for disseminating those resources to people lies only on them, and they can ration it out on who they want to give it to cause us to get in line, to feed the industrial system, to be slaves, to get these pieces of resources that we need. A home, clothes, a car, basic things. Life is much more than a home, clothes, and cars, but that they've made life be about that, pulling us away from our true purpose. But it's hard to find your purpose when you're hateful all the time about your job, and you're stressful, and you're eating toxic foods, and you're not getting enough sleep. You're arguing with your wife, you're arguing with your husband, and your kid's not acting right because they're riddled with sugar, you're too hyperactive. Now they're putting your son on ADHD medication. You see how it goes? The whole system is a fucked up system. It is. I'm not saying it's easy to overcome it, but you got to start somewhere, and it starts with self. And it starts with having a good mindset of how you compartmentalize your days from a psychological perspective. In other words, don't look at life as I'm living for the weekend, or I can't wait for the weekend. Oh, it's Friday. Every day is Friday. Even if you're going to a place you hate. It's mind over matter. Let your mind overtake the reality. And if your mind takes over the reality, then your perception becomes your reality. And if your perception is a positive one, then you've already won. You cannot be hateful for too long. Optimism overwhelms the pessimism. Optimism overwhelms the pessimism. It just does. Because it's your mindset that shifts everything. That's why I tell people all the time when I'm talking to my mom, I tell her heaven is a mindset. I don't know about a heaven or hell. You guys keep talking about going to heaven or hell. None of y'all have been there. You've never seen it. While you're here, you're talking about something that you've never seen. Some hocus pocus nonsense. While you're alive, there's heaven and hell that exist here. And we are charged with taking in everything and making it heaven. It's sort of like they say, what's the saying? Make lemonade out of lemons. What's the saying? You have a lemon, you make lemonade out of lemons, or something like that. Like, in other words, whatever situation that you're given, make the best of it. But it's not making the best of it without internal work. The internal work starts with you. And it's a process. Just like it took time to get you in this pessimistic process, it started at birth. It took time to get you in this state. It's going to take time to get you out. But it won't take as much time as it did to get you in it. But it takes time. Okay? Be deliberate. Live with purpose. Again, this is Literary Pharaoh signing off. See you guys next time. In peace. And remember, always, your health is your wealth. Love you guys. Peace.